Round da, croeso. Echo in the room. Good afternoon, welcome to the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Cabinet meeting on Wednesday, the 8th of February 2023. Please note that the meeting is being recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recordings may also be used for training purposes within the authority. Item 3 of the agenda. Oh, declarations of interest. Yes. Sorry. Yes. Mr. Page. Item on the agenda. Any apologies for absence? I have done great. And item 2. Any declarations of interest? We have none, and we have someone trying to come into the chamber. Item 3 on the agenda is Cyfarthfa 64, Bridleway open to all traffic. To consider the report of the Deputy Chief Executive, Councillor Michelle Jones, would you like to refer to the report?
Thank you, Chair. So, summary of the report, first of all, it's proposed that the Council take steps to introduce an order to prohibit mechanically propelled vehicles, say for two-wheeled mechanically propelled vehicles, from using Cyfarthfa 64. It is proposed that the Council publishes and consults on a notice of the proposals to make a traffic regulation order and a statement of the reasons for making a TRO. There will then be a period for any objections to the proposed TRO to be made, after which the proposal will be brought back to Cabinet for a final decision as to whether to make the TRO, taking into account the balance and exercise required by Section 122 of the Road Traffic Regulations Act. Excuse me. Therefore, I'd like to draw your attention to recommendations 2.1, which is that the publishing and consultation on a notice of the proposals to make a traffic regulation order and a statement of the reasons for making a TRO be approved. Under 2.2, the provision of a further report to Cabinet to enable a final decision about the making of the TRO at the conclusion of the consultation be approved. I so move, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Have I got a seconder?
I'd like to second that, Chair, please.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. But before we go to questions, can I just thank you for your commitment to the Cabinet and to this Council. For everyone to be aware that Councillor Hughes' mother sadly passed away last night. So from us all, Dave, we offer our condolences and sympathies to all the family. Thank you. So any questions?
Yeah, just for clarity, Chair, the order doesn't preclude anybody who already has interest up on that mountain there passing and going through that area. Yeah, I don't want to pick that up.
Any other questions? No? Any comments? Councillor Jones?
Excuse me, yeah, just on behalf of quite a few people, we've had a lot of our community groups, etc., are extremely grateful. Neighbours are extremely grateful who live in this area. This Route 64 has caused numerous problems for residents of Hale Gerrig for many, many years. And recently, Daniel Lewis cleared a lot of the fly tipping on top of the mountain, which was absolutely disgusting. As a community group, we've been up there and we've cleared this area as well. And within days, it's been back to the state it's been in. So it's kind of it's been like polishing the brass on a sinking ship. So we're really grateful that this is now brought back to Cabinet, and hopefully it'll go through now. So I just wanted to thank everyone for their work on this, legal team as well, because we've had to take a lot of legal advice over the last couple of years to get this actually sorted. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for your patience and your help and your advice in this matter, not just from myself and the leader, but from the residents of Hale Gerrig. Thank you very much.
I've got a final comment as well, just to thank everyone for the hard work that's gone into this report. For me, the top of that mountain, that Aberdare Mountain, as we all call it, as one of the finest viewing points, I would say, in the valleys. And let's hope, from this moment on, that perhaps it'll become an active travel route to Aberdare, linking up, the both towns, and we can celebrate the beauty of our area. So thank you everyone involved. So can we take it to the vote, please? Okay, item 4 of the agenda is the digital strategy for schools. To consider the report of the Chief Officer for Education, Councillor Michelle Jones is going to refer to this report again.
Thank you, Chair. So, yeah, digital strategy for schools. So the Curriculum and Assessment Wales Act 2001, the Act established the curriculum for Wales in law, which replaced the basic curriculum which had been set out in Part 7 of the Education Act 2002. The Act sets out a number of mandatory elements which span the 3 to 16 learning continuum. One of these mandatory elements is the Digital Competency Framework. Head teachers must make provision for this mandatory element within their school curriculum. The Digital School Strategy will support the development of this area in schools. This strategy accompanies the RAS, seeing digital technology as integral to 21st century learning. A digital strategy group was convened throughout 2022 to develop the school strategy, digital strategy. This group includes head teachers, leads for ICT, digital learning, local authority officers and representatives from the Central South Consortium. Alongside this strategy, a draft action plan has been produced to deliver the strategy at school level. This included developing a positive marketing approach to the use of Hub as a cloud-based solution, developing a device refresh programme to ensure schools have sufficient technological capacity, a programme of professional learning localised to Merthyr Tydfil schools. The Schools Budget Forum have agreed that school budgets would contain funding to support sustainability of digital technology and infrastructure. I therefore move the recommendation that the digital strategy for schools be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Have we got a second there?
I second that, please, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jenkins. Have we got any questions? No? Any comments? No? Let's take it to the vote then. Thank you, Mandarin Officer. Item 5 of our agenda is the revenue budget monitoring for 2022-23, quarter 3. To consider the report of the Chief Executive, the Deputy Leader, Councillor Andrew Barry, would you like to refer to the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So the revenue budget monitoring 22-23 quarter 3. We've an improved projected revenue outturn at the end of quarter 3 as of the 31st December 2022, which stands projected for the financial year 22-23 to be a net revenue deficit of £1.040 million. From a position of 2.471 at quarter 2. Quarter 3's monitoring report was considered Budget Board 25th of January and detailed here at Appendix 1, page 72 of your papers. Outlined briefly at 1.3 are what's described as the most significant variances. An improved position from quarter 2 of 1.037 million, with social services decreasing their deficit from quarter 2 by 329,000. Education slightly increasing the deficit by 41,000. Economy and public protection, a significant turnaround from 368,000 deficit to in quarter two to a surplus of 408,000, a difference of 776,000. There are around half a dozen budget environments detailed in Appendix 2, page 73 of your papers, followed by the considerable analysis of 47 major variances considered at Appendix 3, pages 74 to 83. Section 5.1 to 5.26 outlines the various surpluses and transfers through each directorate and gives more detail to the headline figure I mentioned earlier. We continue to monitor our financial position very carefully, as we have in previous years. The pressures predominantly from energy costs, pay award, capital financing costs. We are seeing a more settled financial economic picture over the past quarter through the first 100 days or so. The new Prime Minister, different from early October when Liz Truss mini budget sent financial markets into meltdown mid-October when the inflation hit 10.1%, 25th when Rishi Sunak was made new Prime Minister. 3rd of November, Bank of England, 8th consecutive rise at the time in interest rates by 0.75% to 3%, the highest since 1984, decades ago. And now on Thursday, the 2nd of February, interest rates were raised again by 0.5% to 4%, the 10th consecutive rise, but probably not the last. The last quarter I described, financial year 2023-24, as potentially the darkest period in this and every other Welsh authority's financial history, and described by the Welsh LGA, the Welsh Local Government Association Finance Subgroup paper led by John Ray, as potentially catastrophic. There are no indicators to persuade me anything has changed in relation to those economic forecasts now. International Monetary Fund expects the UK economy to contract by 0.6 this year, having previously forecasted slight growth. It is the only advanced economy to forecast a decline. In terms of Russia, we're behind them as well, whose decline will be to minus 0.3. And on that point, because I'm beginning to sound like Steve, I'll go to the recommendations. 2.1. The Revenue Budget Monitoring Report for 22-23 financial year, based on the second quarter projections, be accepted. 2.2. Budget environments outlined in Appendix to be approved, and 2.3 manages to urgently address projected budget deficits within their respective service areas, identify all possible remedial measures to offset predicted deficits be approved. I move the report, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Have we got a second? Councillor Hughes?
I think Councillor Barry said the second quarter instead of the third quarter in 2.1. He says second.
I'm happy to second that, Chair.
Have we got any questions? No? Any comments? No? Let's take that to the vote then. Thank you, Carys. Item 6 of the agenda is the Capital Monitoring Report for 2022-23, Quarter 3. And to consider the report of the Chief Executive, Deputy Leader, Councillor Andrew Barry. I'd like to refer to the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Capital Budget Monitoring 22-23, Quarter 3 is for the period ending 31st of December 22 for both core and externally funded capital projects. There is a £59,000 projected overspend in relation to our core funded projects detailed in Appendix 1. There is a £1.043 million underspend in relation to externally funded projects detailed in Appendix 2. The core capital programme agreed in Cabinet on the 7th of December 22 last year should see the administration spending 36.660 million for the financial year 22-23. As at the 31st December 22, end of quarter 3, we have a total spend of 20.84 billion. Additional externally funded grants, mainly from Welsh Government, totaling 22.160 million at the end of this third quarter for financial year 22-23. Detail of core funded and other capital projects are found in section 4 and 5. Amendments to the core funded projects are outlined in Appendix 1, detailed in Appendix 3, including the strategically important Hoover regeneration, 9.5 million, and Pengal, the amount of 798,000, detailed at reference points 7 and 12 within the table, and major variances of core projects, Appendix 4. We have detail of the new external grant funded schemes, detailed Appendix 5, and major variances of our external grant funding at Appendix 6. Interest rates fluctuating in relation to our capital borrowing requirement will again require focus in the remaining quarter of the Bank of England raising rates to 4% on the 2nd of February, significant effect on our own borrowing mechanisms. I think it's important to mention, Chair, that there's been an internal audit report produced on the 1st of February in relation to capital contract monitoring and payments of accounts and valuations 22-23 that received a glowing substantial assurance opinion based on the audit feedback fieldwork of 2 contracts, Yscol y Graig and the Civic Centre roof and windows. Not just accountancy, but the consultants and contractors and the council's procurement department and property services were highlighted for their performance. So you can be assured, Chair, that from the reports systematically brought to this council and cabinet over each financial quarter, this authority has the governance and performance arrangements that sit behind those reports. Residents of this authority can take comfort from the knowledge that this authority is operating to the highest standards. Steve, Adele, and our procurement and property services are being congratulated, and Ellis as Chief Exec. I hope you'll take our thanks and congratulations for that excellent performance as highlighted in that report. Much more positive note than the revenue monitoring one, but I'll take the recommendations, Chair. 2.1. The quarter 3 capital monitoring report for 22-23 be noted. 2.2. The budget amendments for core funded projects as outlined in 4.1 below be approved, and 2.3 variances to the budgets per paragraph 4.2 be noted. I move, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Have we got a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Jenkins. Have we got any questions on the report? Any comments? Just one for me then. Again, thank you everybody for the hard work that's gone into this. That's a glowing report from Wales Audit, so that's excellent. Internal audit, so that's excellent. But I think it just shows how important the council are for the local economy. When you talk about the revenue we spend plus the capital expenditure, we are really supporting everything that goes on in the county borough. So well done, everybody. So can we take that to the vote, please? Thank you. Item 7 on the agenda is the Public Protection Scheme of Delegation. To consider the report of the Deputy Chief Executive, Councillor Michelle Simmons, will you take the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So the summary of the report is laid out in 1.1 to 1.3. 1.1, a full review has been conducted into the legislation enforced by the Public Protection Services in line with the current review of the authority's constitution, considering departmental restructures, changes to job titles and changes to legislation. 1.2, the identified legislation as attached in Annex 1 and Annex 2 concern public protection statutory duties and are a list of adopted legislation required for the operation of an effective public protection service. A scheme of delegation is required to authorise officers to carry out any powers outlined within the legislation and delegation for formal proceedings to be undertaken where required. 1.3. The changes detailed in 1.1 above does not mean that officers currently carrying out public protection functions are unauthorised, but it is nevertheless prudent to protect the authority from any possible legal challenge. It is therefore proposed that the legislation outlined in Annexes 1 and 2 be adopted, re-adopted, and a scheme of delegation set out for authorisation of officers and initiation of formal proceedings. The recommendations are 2.1, the adoption, re-adoption of legislation listed in Annex 1 and 2 that are the responsible of the Executive in accordance with the Local Authorities Regulations 2007 be approved. 2.2, the delegation to the Head of Public Protection of the function of doing any act which the Council has a power of duty to do, including the power to serve any notice and to authorise officers or other suitably qualified persons that is necessary for the enforcement of any of the provisions contained in the enactments set out in Annex 1 and on the responsibility of the Executive in accordance with the Local Authorities Regulations 2007 and any orders or regulations of or other instruments, any modification or reenactment, and to authorise and institute legal proceedings in consultation with the Head of Legal and Democratic Services arising from any breach of those provisions be approved. 2.3, the delegation to the Head of Public Protection and Environmental Health Manager of the function of doing any act which the Council has a power or duty to do, including the power to serve any notice and to authorise officers or other suitably qualified persons that it is necessary for the enforcement of any of the provisions contained in the enactments set out in Annex 2 that are the responsibility of the Executive in accordance with the Local Authorities Regulations 2007 and any orders or regulations or other instruments, any modification or reenactment, and to authorise and institute legal proceedings in consultation with the Head of Legal and Democratic Services arising from any breach of those provisions be approved. I so move, Chair.
I think you need a glass of water after that. Councillor Simmons?
I did drop that.
Well, they certainly were, they certainly were. Have we got a seconder, please?
For second, I'm glad I wouldn't. I second that anyway.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Have we got any questions? Councillor Barry?
Just a quick one for Caris, really, because this will be incorporated now into the new constitution. Is that right?
It will be when you have a new constitution. The point about this is because the adoption of the new constitution was deferred, there were some matters which couldn't wait any longer to be rectified because we were exposed to either difficulties with regulators or potential undermining of our abilities to take litigation action. And so this, and there will be some other reports later, will pick up those matters that need to be dealt with urgently pending us adopting the new constitution, which will contain them.
Sorry, Chair. So the new when the new constitution comes back to us, this will be incorporated, or will there be another sort of vote to incorporate it at a later date? It will all be in one because we voted it through now.
It will all be in one. This was part of the draft constitution that was put before you and is part of the summary that Simon Jones prepared for you of what changes had been made. But because all of that now had to be deferred, we then have to deal with the ones which are urgent and deal with them separately. So when you then finally come to consider the new constitution, you will have that this will be part of the new constitution.
Any other questions? Any comments? No? Let's go straight to the vote then. Thank you. So we've got a list then of information reports. Item 8 is appointment of local authority governors. Item 9, the summary of summer 2022 outcomes. Item 10, direct payment scheme. Item 11, the youth service performance for 2021-2022. Item 12 of the agenda is to deal with any other urgent business, deemed urgent by the chair. We do have one. So I'm going to ask for someone to call for section 100, please.
Section 100. Chair. Move.
Have we got a seconder?
Yeah, happy to second.
Can we take that to the vote then, please?
Carried, Chair.
So before we continue, can we make sure that